All right. Hello. We return. And now, you know what? We're going to be making some NPCs here. Let's get some good background music for generating some unique personalities, huh? How about let's try this one. My headset hibernate? What's going on here? Oh, okay. There we go. Pardon me. Well, hey, don't let it distract you from your novel though, DW. I wanted to show that off tonight just because it was gonna go into talking about NPCs and development, and especially how characters, as long as the characters are playing off of each other. Heck, the Power Rangers are all, uh, for the most part, the Power Rangers and like the Turtles and everything, they are flat, static characters, but they're beloved. They have a role in the story, which is fine. It's a very strong presence. And so I wanted to showcase a living example from our workshop, from our game. And you and Loki, well, you as Norlai and your brother Loki, were a very good way to showcase that kind of dynamic, and that the characters should play well together, even if there are similarities in them. But there's still the niches that they're hitting. Now, what are we gonna do in this part here? Dark Wolf is either animating or writing a novel, or maybe a little bit of both. Uh, well, yes, yeah. Some definitely had more spotlight and time to shine than others. That's true. Broadly, superheroes tend to be what they are. We talked about Batman, Superman, and such. Many of those are just here I am and here I shall always perpetuate. Um, it's very rare, at least in Western comics and the longer running ones too, to get a character that has honest to goodness character growth and is a dynamic character or a round character. As it's I don't know. I could get into a whole other discussion on the state of comic book writing in not even just this year, but in recent history. And it seems like a lot of the fundamentals that we have talked about have been lost. It's a soapbox because ultimately, for anything you want to write, most anything you want to write anyway, at least in terms of fiction, show don't tell. Show don't tell. And if you just have to tell people that your character is something, it can come across as disingenuous, or it defeats the actual personality the character is supposed to have. Because there was no development, it was just placed there and said, all right, well, there it is. Okay, I don't know what you want me to do with it then. You spoiled it. Grumble, grumble, comic books. Anyway, I was called out for being on a soapbox, and rightfully so. So why don't we get going with making some NPCs here? And wouldn't you know, beyond just having a very delicious, not sponsored, but man, can I rock a sponsorship for generic Sam's Club brand unsweetened almond milk with some zero sugar pumpkin spice coffee creamer in it. It's good stuff. But using a handy-dandy referential worksheet and the core rulebooks for Dungeons and/or Dragons of the 5th edition variety, why don't we generate some NPCs? We're going to let the process manifest them in whatever capacity they're going to be. I don't know what we're going to get. It's going to be up to you all. And we're going to place them in the world that we have created so far. It is not going to be a complex process. I don't want you out there to agonize over NPC creation, character creation, and so forth. They all are going to have a place in our world. We will believe in the story, and the story will write itself. We have emotes that, for those of you as both followers and subscribers, have access to. In our workshop, the story writes itself. Some places have OWOs, some have UWOs. In fact, we have an UWO as well. Hang on. There we go. But for the most part, we have iwis. It writes itself. Don't let this process keep you from telling your story. Because you get jumbled or mixed up, you get confused over notes and such. We're going to keep it simple. We're going to keep things moving forward, and everything is going to have its place. What do we roll? I will let you know in just a moment, Nick, as I'm going to load up the worksheet here. That and this. Oh, you know what? Did I erase? I erased the page references. That's fine. I want you all to open up your Dungeon Master's guides, your DMGs, and if you don't have one, hey, consider supporting your friendly local game store. Especially around this time of year, I'm sure they'd appreciate the business, and you're going to get a book that you can use for a good long while. There's plenty of good content in there for you to read, consider, reject what you don't want, embrace what you do, and go on to craft some amazing worlds. And we're going to open up our DMGs. By the way, if you don't have a friendly local game store, talk to me and we'll see what we can do to hook you up. To chapter... There we go. That's villains. There we go. Chapter 4, non-player characters. We are on page 89. We're on page 89 for this. And let's find out two... I mean, I'd like to make 4. I don't know if I'll have the time and ability to make 4, but I'd like to at least make 2 NPCs that are going to be significant to the story in some way. Could even just be the cabbage guy, or it could be a deep and complex Uncle Iroh. I don't know. But they're all going to have a place, and they're going to serve a purpose in our story. Let's meet them. I'm eager. So first things first, the occupation and history of our NPC. We're actually going to skip this one, at least on this NPC. The reason why we're doing that is, at least in this workshop and on this worksheet, that tends to be the details like the race, class, background, and some other things along those lines. Not worried about that. I want to meet the who of our character first before we determine the what or the how this character does the things that he or she does. So we're skipping occupation and history as the first part to generate. And we're going to go down to our NPC's appearance. What is going to be something notable that will come up in our descriptions of this character in our narrative? Nick, as you want to help us out, I want you to type !1D20 in chat. Lands on a 5. Ragged, dirty clothes. All right. And Heretic Trance. Will you please type exclamation point 2d6 for our high ability and our low ability? I'm not worried about the mechanical scores as if we were going to make a character sheet. Simply a generalization of the strongest and weakest traits of this character. 5 and 2. We have a high wisdom, perceptive, spiritual, insightful, but a low dexterity, where we are clumsy or fumbling. High wisdom, low dex. Now, what is a talent that our NPC has? How might we describe this character doing something in the meantime, or our hero and his or her party stumble across the NPC in the middle of what? Rip Artist, exclamation point 1d20, please. Ten. Draws beautifully. All right. What is a mannerism or a quirk that our NPC has? Something else that will help this character stand out. Bane. May I please have a 1d20 roll in chat? Exclamation point 1d20, please. Oh, Bane has been taken over by OMGM, who sniped the roll from Bane. Hopefully Bane can forgive her for this egregious affront. Or Bane might have just fallen asleep. So we're going to keep things moving and take that 17. The mannerism is that this character paces. Now, how does this NPC interact with others? How would the NPC's behavior change depending on who or she is interacting with? Mushio, I need a D12 roll from you. Exclamation point 1d12. Lands on a 4. Rude. How wooed. Now, useful knowledge must, or much like we have established with our villain. Oh, Sierra Echo, you're looking mighty sensuous. Since you was up, can you get me a soda? I just finished my drink. I need you to top me off here, okay? Now, if you end up putting in about 3 fingers of Kahlua instead of almond milk, that'd be fine too. Heck, I'll just take a White Russian. Hi, Corduroy. So useful knowledge in NPC, regardless if this NPC, well, it would be more focused in some ways, but if we have a flat character, round character, static character, or dynamic character, always has some kind of useful knowledge, else why are they in our book? Why are they in our story? Everything in our story serves a purpose, even if it doesn't seem like it. And if it doesn't seem like it to the reader, you've done your job. because you're showing, you're not telling. You're showing, not telling. So I don't know exactly what this NPC knows yet. We haven't quite met this character fully. So we're going to keep that a mystery. Though we do have an ideal. Sure, I'll head over, but remember, I'm in West Ohio, so it'll take me a bit to get there. Well, thank you for visiting all the same, Sierra. Corduroy, will you please type exclamation point 2D6 into chat? Three and 3. We have a lawful ideal of honor. A lawful ideal of honor. And now our character here has a bond to the world in some way. What or who is this bond that is going to keep the character hooked into the world? Iron Chef Lord, may I please have a 1d10 roll in chat? Lands on a 6. Drawn, draws beautifully. Drawn to a special place. And lastly, but not lastly, because this is only the first half, I need to know a flaw or a secret. Now, whether or not this ever gets revealed to our audience, well, that's up to us. But as the author, we should always know more about the world and the characters than at any particular time has been expressed through our work. There should always be that peripheral, like, stuff happening in the periphery, in the margin. Because that's the gateway that leads to the potential, to the possibility for always more. That's our horizon. And let's see, for this, Dark Wolf, if you're here and can, would you give me a D12 roll in chat for our flaw or our secret? Lands on a 13. It is Dark Wolf's choice for rolling a 13 on a D12. So, do we have a forbidden love or susceptibility to romance? Do we enjoy decadent pleasures? Are we arrogant? Do we envy another creature's possessions, or do we envy another creature's station? Do we have overpowering greed? Are we prone to rage? Do we have a powerful enemy, or a specific phobia? Maybe a shameful or a scandalous history? A secret crime or misdeed? Possession of forbidden lore? Or perhaps we have a touch of foolhardy bravery. Which of these sounds good for you, Dark Wolf? Roller's choice. A specific phobia. Okay. Did you have one in mind? Or would you like to just let it float as we continue to develop the character? There's even a phobia chart. If you want to roll one, I can open up our Call of Cthulhu book. There's 100 different phobias that we could roll for. Because sanity is a thing in that game. And you want to roll a phobia? All right. That is here. We're going to go to sanity. All right, DW, I want you to give me a percentile roll. And let's find out what this NPC is unreasonably scared of. Has an irrational fear of something. Lands on a 33. Dromophobia, a fear of crossing streets. Dromophobia, fear of crossing streets. Hello, everyone. That's only irrational if cars don't exist? I don't know, Corduroy. Have you ever been trampled by a horse? Or a carriage that's out of control? Or you might be scared of the, sewers and gas lines existed before automobiles did. What if you don't want to fall down into the sewers beneath the streets? At least horses might see you and turn. A panicked horse is bigger than you and may not well do that. Now, what we can do, if you already have an idea as the author, you say, nope, I already know that one of the characters I need to be a middle-aged elf warlock, blah, 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 blah. Well, what we just generated can fit onto whomsteditivesoever. This can be a dwarf, this can be a dragonborn, this could be another gnome like our villain. These are qualities that describe the who, not the what, of the character. Now, perchance you wish to trust our It Writes Itself system, and you want to continue this role-playing exercise. And so we say, all right, let's revisit occupation and history and roll up those details as well. Because I was at a complete loss. I didn't even know if I wanted a human or if I wanted something else. Now we're going to go over to our handy dandy, trusty Manual of Player Character Golems. Corduroy, let's have you start us off by typing exclamation point 1D100 in chat, please. Lands on a 3. All right, we have a female character. What would the fear of adventurers be? I don't know offhand if that's one, at least in the Call of Cthulhu. But that might go into something else that might be related. Nick, while we're here, would you please type exclamation point 1D9? It lands on a 10. Congrats, Nick. So, Nick, you get your choice of character race here for our NPC. Now, if you want to tie it in, we have established that our villain is a gnome. Maybe this NPC is also a gnome. We have established that in our setting, there is dwarves and dragonborn prominently, though it doesn't mean other fantasy races can't be there. But you get your choice. We know for sure that there are dwarves and dragonborn in more abundance than others. And we have rolled up gnome, or at least the concept of a gnome, which could very well be the name that we give to a half dragonborn, half dwarf. A gnome, while we are referencing the D&D books, a gnome does not have to be a gnome according to the common lore of the player's handbook. You want this to be a dragonborn. Do you have a particular one? Do you have a particular one in mind? Oh, if we're rolling for it, we can do that too. Let's go to... Four is brass. Now, I'm not worried about alignment. I'm not worried about character level, nor if we're taking feats over ability score improvements. If you did want to actually make a character sheet and make a note that over the course of the story you specifically invoke these terms or these abilities, that's perfectly fine. For the purposes of this workshop, I'll make it as an option, but we're not going to roll for that right now. Now, a very important part of our character is our background. Heretic Trance, may I please have a 1d20 roll in chat? Have a good night, Mushio. Thank you for hanging out. Exclamation point, 1d20. Oh, we gotta have the 1 in there. Lands on 8. We are a guild artisan, and in particular... I need you to give me another D20 roll, Heretic Trance. Ooh, I haven't had to crack open the PHP to this page in a little while. Oh, it feels good to be back up in the back in the saddle here. Oh, you know what? It's probably still on cooldown. Use the 2d20 command, and we'll just take the first one that rolls. $19. Weavers and dyers. Weavers and dyers. Do you have one in particular that you would like this character to be, Heretic? If you want to roll for it, then we can do an odds or evens. Otherwise, if you would prefer this person, a weaver, okay. All right. We'll put you away. And now we're going to come around to the class of this NPC. OMGM. OMGM, will you please type exclamation point 1D12? All right, we lost OMGM. Rosewolf of the Book Devouring Horde. Your penalty for speaking up is to participate in a fun workshop. Rosewolf, I need you to type exclamation point 1D12 for me, please. You're fine, Lunar. Y'all have things to do. I can call on you next, though, if you're going to hang around for a second. All right. Well, Lunar Nightwolf, will you please type... Oh, there we go. Never mind. Rosewolf is on it with a 13. Rosewolf of the Book Devouring Horde, you all are breaking the odds tonight. Rosewolf, it is Roller's choice. Which class of the traditional 12 would you like this character to be? And if you want to roll randomly again, we can. Or if you want to choose, you may. Barbarian, Bard, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, Warlock, or Wizard. Otherwise, if you would like to roll again, use the 2d12 command and we'll take the first of the two. Druid? And is there a specific type of druid that you would like this to be? A druid of the land, or a druid, or a circle of the moon druid? The land tends to focus more on spell casting and spells. The moon druid tends to focus on more powerful animal forms. Circle of the Moon druid. All right. And then lastly, Lunar Nightwolf, will you please type exclamation point 1D100 in chat? Hi, Santiro. Well, presumably, Santiro, you would need... Lunar Nightwolf, KH Darkwolf committed the sin of stealing a roll. And so we are going to discard Darkwolf's roll. And we will ring the bell of shame. And we gotta wait for the cooldown though, Lunar. So a question. Don't ask me how did you get there, but in my D&D game, there's a guy with a goblin with a nuclear bomb tied to his neck. What do I do? I guess you try and negotiate down the situation. Don't act too hasty, even if that means trying to position yourself in a way to unfasten the device or to defuse it, or somehow, if it's going to go off, I guess, if you can banish the goblin away, so that if it blows up elsewhere. But just remember, it's going to blow up somewhere else, and you may not like where that other place is. All right. We might be back around to it. Lunar Nightwolf, may I please have a 1D100 roll? Well, there you go. Of the two wolves, Darkwolf rolled a 93. Lunar Nightwolf rolled a 94. What are the odds? Either way, we have the two wolves agreed that we have a venerable a venerable druid here. So someone who is most likely towards the end of her life, which could be even longer than normal if a druid is able to self-preserve. Yeah, it writes itself. It was meant to be, Rip Artist. Okay, so here we go. We have, in this grimdark dystopian societal horror setting, where a mountain full of spirits comes for the people who have been living under this blood shield in a dictatorship in the desert on the other side of the mountain. And, you know, the story will take place as what happens. But we have now a venerably aged female brass dragon-born Circle of the Moon druid who is a weaver. She often wears ragged, dirty clothes, has a high wisdom but a low dexterity. She draws beautifully, though she does tend to pace. And I wonder what she thinks about as she paces. What does she say or do? She does come across as rude with other people. She does have an ideal of honor. A lawful ideal of honor, and she is drawn to a special place. However, while she does pace, she does have a fear of crossing streets. It doesn't mean that she won't, but there's an irrational fear of crossing streets. Now, I wonder, this may not necessarily help us decide if she is going to be a dynamic character, a static character, a flat character, or a round character. But this can also help us say, you know what? Given everything we just rolled, she might make for a really good quest giver, or the person that they see who lives outside the blood shield and maybe can commune with the spirits. Maybe someone who was banished from the city, but has lived and survived to tell the tale. So she comes across as rude to people from there. And, well, we have ideas now. We have inspiration because we can place this NPC somewhere in this setting that makes sense and will be a compelling fit to accomplish the goals of our villain, of our hero, and everyone else in between. All right, Nick. Now, we're going to do this one more time. This time, we're going to start with the occupation and history. So let's start over again. Another major NPC in our story is going to be as follows. Rip Artist, I need a percentile roll in chat, please. Exclamation point 1D100. And KH Darkwolf, may I please have a 1D9 roll in chat for the character race? 72, we have a male character. Who is piloting a human. Okay. So we have a male human. I'm not worried about alignment. I'm not worried about character level, nor ability score improvements. Santiro, if you'd like to roll, can I please have an exclamation point 1D20? Exclamation point 1D20. You'll have to type it with the exclamation point with the dot at the bottom. Lands on a 1. We have an Acolyte character. An Acolyte character. Okay. Next up, may I please have the other wolf, Lunar Night Wolf. Will you please give me a D12 roll in chat by typing exclamation point 1D12. Lands on a 3, a cleric. Okay, then. And let's see, in particular, which kind of cleric? Lunar Night Wolf, I need a D8 roll in chat. Hi, Colossal Games. Colossal Games says, so I'm trying to make a campaign based around the Mortal Kombat series, but there is one character or characters I've been struggling to make. It's a duo character called Farah and Tor. Well, how might we be able to help you with this planning, Colossal? Lands on a 1, a Death Cleric. And then lastly, Heretic Trance, may I please have a percentile roll in chat to find out generally how old our character or this NPC is. But yeah, welcome to the Hero Zone, Colossal Games. Let me know how we can help you out. Lands on a 53, and that is an adult. How was the conclusion, Santiro? So we have an adult male human death cleric who is also an acolyte. Of course, Santiro, you're welcome to share that sort of stuff. Now, can we stop here? Of course. Just as with our first part, we might already know the other personality characteristics. We need someone to be the curmudgeonly whatever, or the flirty barmaid, or whatever, you know, all these other personality traits. We just needed help filling in the other details. Though, like our first exercise, we're now going to go back to the Dungeon Master's Guide in Chapter 4, so break out your books again, everyone, and we're going to randomly roll these to come up with our other non-player character, or this background character, for our grimdark. Having a druid and a death cleric as two major NPCs in this story is, it can't get any more, it writes itself. Oh, that sounds good, Rep Artist. But here, yeah, let's generate the appearance of this NPC. Rip Artist, get us going, please, with a D20 roll in chat. Santero says, divide the magic items into 2 prototype divisions. And what would be ancient magic? Ancient magic is completely illegal and super powerful magic. So my players cannot go with a magic glass on the street because they would be arrested for something like that. So it's ultra weaponry. Powerful, but ultra dangerous. Rip Artist rolls a 5. Also ragged, dirty clothes. Huh. Huh, okay. I think we can work with this. What about our abilities? Heretic Trance, 2d6 in chat, please. Four and 3. High intelligence, low constitution. That means that our NPC is studious, learned, and inquisitive. However, he tends to be sickly or pale. What is a talent that our NPC has? And let's have... Oh, the Warp and Warhammer. I got you, Santiro. And Santiro, will you please type exclamation point 1D20 in chat? Well, Lunar, for as much as you've been hanging out here, I hope that you have enjoyed it. And you've seen that role-playing, whether it's the actively role-playing, rolling dice, and being a part of the story, or generating the stories and these other things, isn't too scary of a concept. It's not too difficult to do. And that it could be a lot of fun. Santiro gives us a 17, an expert juggler. An expert juggler. Now, what is a quirk or a mannerism that this NPC has when talking or interacting with people? Well, I mean, in particular, is showing to other people. Let's have Corduroy. Corduroy, will you please type exclamation point 1D20 into chat? Lands on a 5. Enunciates overly clearly. Enunciates overly clearly. You know, I was going to ask Lunar, what would a death cleric juggle? Iron Chef, yeah, you want to roll next? Next up is going to be our interaction with others. And that is going to be a 1d12 roll in chat. So go ahead and roll those bones, Iron Chef. Appropriate, given our necromancer. Lands on a 4. Also rude. Also rude. Whoop, that's the ideal. Now, what is his ideal? What is his ideal? What is he aspiring to accomplish or be, or a way to act? He may currently be living his ideal, or he might be trying to attain it. Let's have... Who hasn't rolled? Rosewolf. Are you still here with us, Rosewolf? If so, we have 3 wolves in chat. All right, Lunar. All right, we may not have Rosewolf. Turbo! All right, Turbo. Your punishment for saying hello and being friendly is to toil in our workshop. Turbo Rock, please type exclamation point 2d6. Rosewolf, please type exclamation point 1d10. You need an exclamation point there. Exclamation point 2d6. All right, Turbo says 4 and 4. We have a chaotic ideal of independence. A chaotic ideal of independence. And then the bond that our character has is a 7, according to Rosewolf. 7 is protective of a sentimental keepsake. Is that keepsake something he juggles? Is the keepsake related to him being an acolyte, moving into some sort of full embrace of the cleric as per class? Is it something that would really just help to flesh out this character's backstory more and round out this character? We might have a very good example of having two similar characters, such as Uncle Iroh and Master Splinter, being presented in two different ways. You think that the sentimental keepsake is a bone hand necklace? Well, that describes what it is, but that doesn't address the sentimentality of it, though, Rip Artist. What would you believe is sentimental about it? No problem, Turbo. And then lastly, because all of us have a flaw or a secret, or maybe both, I need to know this NPC's flaw or secret. And to give that to us, why don't we have... Who hasn't rolled in a bit? Iron Chef, are you still out there? Iron Chef, if you're out there, may I please have a 1d12 roll from you? Rip Artist says, contains fingers from enemies defeated. Lunar suggests, made from the bones of a family member or mentor. Well, welcome back so soon, Turbo. Lands on a 10. That is a secret crime or misdeed. Interesting. A secret crime or a misdeed. Iron Chef, would you prefer, or we can roll for it, odds or evens, or do you want to choose, would you prefer this NPC has a secret crime or a secret misdeed? A secret crime. And so we did something, perhaps earlier in our life, that broke a law. Misdeeds don't necessarily mean you broke a law. In this case, we did something criminal at some point that has remained a secret. Is that what drove us into our search for independence? Is that what drove us into our worship of death? And what was our crime? These are all very compelling questions. So if we do wish to round out this character, there's plenty more that we can do to illustrate the poignancy of the actions of this NPC. Murder. Make the family member or mentor necklace a little shadier. This kind of thing is making my brain happy. I'm glad, Lunar. I'm glad that we've been able to challenge you and to get your brain juices flowing. Isn't it nice when you're like self-producing happy brain juice? It's thrilling. It's fulfilling. It's good stuff. Freshly squeezed, homemade brain juice, everyone. We have a bad boy? Well, I don't know. What if this NPC is someone who really tries to always do something good, but everywhere he goes, death and tragedy follows? Oh, and which kind of stories did you write, Lunar? And it's okay to say I wrote fan fiction or I wrote Harlequin novels. Wink. You know, Edwardian tales of peril and the intimate congress of participants. But we now have these two prompts for characters. Hey, look, Lunar, you're in good company, okay? I'll keep it PG-13, I'll keep it at that. But I'll tell you, you're in good company. There's absolutely no judgment that wouldn't come without a steep price of hypocrisy, all right? And to be fair, some of us we may no longer be teenagers, but we may still have the teenage hormone drives to fuel such literary classics. I wrote comedic stories and parodies of real life versus Muppets with Star Wars and versus Star Trek battles. Now, here's the challenge, Lunar. Go back and find one of your old stories, reread it, and if you cringe, that's fine. Don't kill the cringe, kill the part of you that cringes. Embrace what you wrote and refine it now that you're a little bit more on in years. You're a little bit keener, wiser. You may well be even more horny. I don't know. I won't volunteer you to that. But for all of you who did write anything, go back, look at your early stories, give them a look. It's okay. You can look, I promise. And see what you can do with them. Because those were written with creativity and passion and ideas that maybe at the time were unique. But now, with any sort of maturity or wisdom or whatever, why don't you go back and touch up those ideas? You might surprise yourself. A little bit more on in years, that's me. So Turbo Rock says, I like titles. Yours were lost over the years. I go through a phase where I reread all the things I wrote and try to finish or edit them. Oh, that's cool then, Lunar. Lunar? High five. I'll tell you what, Lunar, hit the rock. Rock's going to explode after 3, 2, 1. Nice. Lunar Nightwolf, you get a nice. But you can see now, for sure, we know that these are characters that exist in our world. But because we've also made our world from the ground up, we understand the story concepts. We know our villain and ultimately what the villain is going to accomplish. As the villain, the story is what the villain does, just told from the perspective of the hero. and we have our previous notes, because we've been taking this one step at a time, nice and slowly, it's easier to work these characters into our grimdark world. And I will add that yes, this is grimdark. It is a subgenre of dark fantasy, which is a subgenre of fantasy. Especially in a setting like this, we do need moments of comic relief. You have to be able to breathe now and again. It resets our brains. It gives us another latching on point if things are getting too weird and wild. And maybe one of those two NPCs, and if not either of them, that's fine too. Maybe one of those two NPCs can actually provide comic relief and yet still be a part of this world. It could be gallows humor or dark humor. It could just be something a little bit more slapstick. Maybe not too much, but things happen. I got you, Rip Artist. I would that I could, but my plate is overflowing right now, so I'll have to leave you to take care of the honeydew list. But there you go. That wasn't too painful, everyone. And you can repeat this process over and over and over again. And keep generating. And now, if you go too far, you might dilute the purpose and the potency of those that you have made. Because, well, ultimately, you might mention 100 different people in your novel. Only a couple of them as a background character, as NPC, are going to hold some kind of meaningful sway. Since we're primarily going to focus on the actions of the hero, the villain is the source of the story, and then we have our very close, our fellow protagonist with the adventuring party following the hero. So we might have room for a couple others. I don't know how many. I won't tell you. There's not a hard and fast rule for it. But I would be very careful in doing this too much, because then if you say, oh, I just generated 1,000 NPCs, and you go back and you say, all right, well, I have 1,000 NPCs. Which one do I want? And now you can succumb to analysis paralysis, or you find yourself back in the same boat where you go, I don't know which NPC I want. I generated 1,000, but none of them seem to work. Try accepting what you were given. Take that out of your control. Try it. You can always discard the NPC. It's fine. But try using what you have. And you might find that there's always that thrill of the hunt. You have to pay that extra special attention to work in an element given to you, rather than things that are always from the same source. As you might make leaps in logic, or you might make presumptions about things that you've said or described about that character, because all your characters were so close, or you have them so tightly knit that one little mistake can end up tipping things over. This is why I love doing our randomized workshops. It's not just for the sake of content or something. If we work with what we're given and we can make it work, imagine what you can do if you do have the wellspring of ideas and you don't need the charts. You don't need to be handed a character to ponder, much like an orb. You can do it. This is practice. This helps. But you can fall into a trap where you do this so often and you say, yeah, I'm really making content for my world. When really, are you? Or are you going to go back to playing favorites and go back to the old availability heuristics that you've practiced, and things can blur together or become very homogenous? And if we're writing a story about a unique setting with characters that should each be their own, try to keep those spaces in between your characters. Keep them unique. Keep them, have that question of, how does this character work in this world? We understand, and because your reader might ask that too. But that's a part of the compelling part of reading what is written. And you can come up with some very creative and unique things. So give it a try, everyone.